Hello, fellow book lovers, and welcome to Bookworms. Today, we're diving into a truly extraordinary piece of writing hope, the autobiography of Pope Francis. This isn't just another biography or a simple recounting of events. No, it's much more than that. It's a deeply personal narrative, a profound reflection on life, faith, and the universal human experience. It transcends religion and offers timeless lessons on resilience, compassion, and, above all, hope, the kind of hope that lights up even the darkest corners of our lives. Pope Francis, born Jorge Mario Bergoglio, is a name known to billions. But how well do we really know the man behind the papal robes? In this remarkable book, he takes us by the hand and walks us through the defining moments of his life. From the bustling streets of Buenos Aires, where he grew up in a modest immigrant family, to the halls of the Vatican, where he became one of the most influential spiritual leaders of our time, his story is as inspiring as it is enlightening. In Hope, Pope Francis shares intimate, never-before-told stories from his life. We learn about his childhood, shaped by the struggles and sacrifices of his Italian immigrant grandparents. We see him wrestle with life's big questions during his youth, face near-death experiences that would alter his path forever, and rise to lead a global church in a time of profound challenges. But what's most striking is how relatable and human his journey feels. He invites us to see him not just as a pope but as a person with fears, doubts, dreams, and an unshakable faith in the goodness of humanity. Whether you're someone who draws strength from spirituality, a curious reader fascinated by the lives of global leaders, or simply a seeker of inspiration in today's chaotic world, this book has something for you. It's a work that will not only teach you about Pope Francis's life but also encourage you to reflect on your own, to find the hope that lies within you and to share it with others. So, settle in, grab a warm drink, and get ready for a journey like no other. Today, we're uncovering the lessons, the wisdom, and the deeply personal stories from Hope by Pope Francis, a book that is not just a testament to his life but a call to action for all of us to live with love, purpose, and yes, hope. Our story begins in the vibrant city of Buenos Aires, Argentina, a city of contrasts, where bustling streets meet quiet, close-knit neighborhoods. It was here, on December 17, 1936, that Jorge Mario Bergoglio was born to Italian immigrant parents. His family's journey to Argentina was a story of courage and hope. His grandparents, fleeing the economic hardships of Piedmont, Italy, in the early 20th century, carried with them little more than dreams of a better life and an unshakable faith in God. This legacy of sacrifice and resilience became the backdrop to young George's upbringing. In Hope, Pope Francis takes us back to these formative years with vivid and heartfelt descriptions. He speaks lovingly of his father, Mario, a railway worker whose life was defined by integrity, discipline, and an unwavering work ethic. Mario believed in the dignity of labor and the importance of doing one's best, no matter the task. George's mother, Regina, brought a different kind of strength to the family, a nurturing, compassionate spirit that bound everyone together. Regina's influence was profound. She taught her children the values of faith, kindness, and the power of community. The Bergoglio household was modest, but it was filled with warmth and purpose. Family meals, Jorge recalls, were sacred moments not just for sharing food but for fostering connection. Around the dining table, stories were exchanged, laughter echoed, and lessons were subtly imparted. His grandmother, Rosa, was often the storyteller, weaving tales of their Italian heritage with pearls of wisdom about life's struggles and joys. Rosa's stories weren't just entertainment, they were a compass, teaching young Jorge about resilience, the importance of faith, and the value of hope in the face of adversity. Pope Francis shares poignant memories of his childhood that, while simple on the surface, were deeply formative. He speaks of walking to church with his family, a routine that wasn't just about religious obligation but about instilling a sense of community and purpose. He recalls moments of quiet prayer with his mother, who encouraged him to speak to God as if speaking to a friend. and he fondly remembers his father's advice to always keep his word, no matter how small the promise. These seemingly ordinary moments were anything but. They planted seeds in George's young heart, seeds of compassion, gratitude, and an unyielding belief in the goodness of people. He learned that even in hardship, there is a reason to hope. And more importantly, he realized that with hope comes responsibility, the responsibility to lift others up, to share what you have, and to believe in a better tomorrow. These early lessons didn't just shape Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the boy. They became the foundation for Pope Francis, the man, the spiritual leader who would go on to inspire millions with his humility, his focus on the marginalized, and his unrelenting message of hope. From his modest beginnings in Buenos Aires to the halls of the Vatican, the values instilled in him by his family never wavered. They became his guiding light, and through this book, they become ours as well. Jorge Mario Bergoglio's youth was not unlike that of many young men. He was curious, ambitious, and occasionally defiant, eager to explore the world and his place within it. Growing up in Buenos Aires, he was known for his love of football, his penchant for books, and his quick wit. But beneath this exterior lay a young man searching for meaning, grappling with questions about purpose and identity. Little did he know that his life was about to change forever. At the age of 21, George's world came to a halt. A severe lung infection left him bedridden and fighting for his life. The illness was so grave that surgeons had to remove part of his lung to save him. In Hope, Pope Francis recounts this period with striking vulnerability, describing the physical pain, the isolation, and the moments of despair. He vividly recalls the sound of hospital machines, the sterile smell of the wards, and the quiet nights where he was left alone with his thoughts. But it was in this crucible of suffering that something extraordinary happened. Jorge began to sense a profound spiritual presence, a quiet but persistent voice calling him to reflect on his life and its purpose. He describes how, in those moments of vulnerability, he felt enveloped by God's grace, a sense of being guided towards something greater than himself. It was during his recovery that he made the decision to dedicate his life to service, marking the beginning of his spiritual journey. This newfound clarity led Jorge to the Society of Jesus, an order known for its intellectual rigor, missionary work, and commitment to social justice. Becoming a Jesuit was no small decision. It required him to embrace a life of discipline, humility, and unwavering devotion. In Hope, Pope Francis shares the profound emotions he felt when he took his vows: poverty, chastity, and obedience, knowing that this path would demand everything from him. His years as a Jesuit were marked by intense preparation. Jorge studied philosophy and theology, immersing himself in the works of great thinkers and the teachings of the Church. He trained in pastoral care, learning how to guide others through their own struggles and doubts. But these years were not without challenges. Pope Francis opens up about the doubts that plagued him during this time, moments when he questioned his calling, felt unworthy of the path he had chosen, or struggled with the demands of a Jesuit's life. Poverty meant letting go of material comforts, chastity required a deep commitment to spiritual relationships over personal ones, and obedience tested his ability to trust in God's plan even when it seemed unclear. Despite these challenges, Jorge found solace and guidance in prayer and the mentorship of his Jesuit brothers. He describes long hours of quiet reflection, seeking answers in Scripture and finding strength in his conversations with God. His mentors played a pivotal role, offering wisdom, encouragement, and the occasional stern reminder to stay the course. Over time, these struggles became a source of resilience, shaping the compassionate and determined leader he would become. This chapter of Pope Francis's life is a testament to the transformative power of trials. It's a story that resonates deeply, reminding us that even in our darkest moments, there is potential for growth and renewal. His near-death experience and the path it set him on are a powerful illustration of how life's challenges can lead us to discover our true purpose. For Jorge, this was not just about finding faith, it was about becoming a beacon of hope for others. And so, with a renewed sense of purpose and a heart full of hope, Jorge Mario Bergoglio began his journey as a Jesuit. Little did he know, this path would eventually lead him to the papacy, where he would inspire millions with the same faith and resilience that had carried him through his own trials. Fast forward to Jorge Mario Bergoglio's years as a bishop and later a cardinal, and it's clear that his leadership style was anything but conventional. From the moment he took on these roles, he was guided by a vision of the church that prioritized service, simplicity, and closeness to the people. He rejected the trappings of power and wealth that often accompany high-ranking positions in the church, choosing instead to lead by example. As the Archbishop of Buenos Aires, Jorge lived a life that mirrored the humility he preached. While others in similar positions might have resided in grand episcopal mansions, he chose a modest apartment. Instead of a chauffeur-driven car, he took public transport, often mingling with commuters who were startled to see a cardinal on the bus or train. This simplicity wasn't a public relations move, it was a reflection of his deeply held belief that the church should embody the values of Christ. Perhaps the most striking aspect of his tenure as archbishop was his commitment to the poor and marginalized. Jorge was often seen walking through the slums of Buenos Aires, visiting families in need, and listening to their struggles. He didn't just preach compassion, he lived it. His hands-on approach earned him the nickname the Slum Bishop, a title he carried with pride. For him, the church wasn't an institution to be admired from afar, it was a sanctuary that needed to be physically present where it was most needed. Then came the year 2013, a year that marked a turning point not only for Jorge but for the entire Catholic Church. With Pope Benedict XVI's resignation, the Church faced an unprecedented moment of transition. For the first time in nearly 600 years, a sitting pope stepped down, citing age and declining health. This unexpected event thrust the Church into the global spotlight as cardinals from around the world gathered for the conclave to elect the next pope. In Hope, Pope Francis recounts this moment with remarkable candor. As the conclave convened in the Sistine Chapel, Jorge did not expect to be chosen. He describes his surprise and even discomfort when the votes began to point toward him. By the end of the conclave, he was elected the 266th pope, making history as the first Jesuit pope, the first from the Americas, and the first to take the name Francis. The choice of the name Francis was deeply intentional. Jorge reveals in the book that his decision was inspired by Saint Francis of Assisi, a figure renowned for his dedication to peace, humility, and care for the poor and the environment. By adopting this name, Pope Francis signaled the kind of papacy he intended to lead, one focused on simplicity, inclusivity, and stewardship of the earth. In the book, Pope Francis shares his feelings during those life-altering moments. He describes the election as a whirlwind of emotions, shock at the enormity of the responsibility, humility in the face of such a monumental role, and an overwhelming sense of duty to serve not just Catholics but humanity as a whole. He recalls the moments immediately following his election, when he stood on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica to address the world for the first time. Rather than delivering a grandiose speech, he began with a simple and heartfelt request: "Pray for me." This chapter highlights Pope Francis's transformative vision for the Church. As he stepped into the papacy, he carried with him the lessons he had learned in Buenos Aires: the importance of humility, the power of personal connection, and the need to be a church for the people, especially those on the margins. He saw his role not as one of authority but as a shepherd guiding his flock with love, compassion, and a commitment to justice. This part of Hope underscores the essence of Pope Francis's leadership. His election was not just a personal milestone, it was a moment that redefined the Catholic Church's relationship with the world. By embracing humility and service, Pope Francis reminded us all that true leadership is not about wielding power but about lifting others up, especially those who are most vulnerable. And so, with the weight of history on his shoulders and the world watching, Pope Francis began his papacy. What followed was a series of bold initiatives and heartfelt gestures that would solidify his place as one of the most transformative leaders of our time. At the core of Hope lies a profound and universal message, one that transcends the confines of religion, geography, and culture. Pope Francis urges us to embrace hope not merely as an abstract concept but as an active, transformative force capable of bringing about real change in the world. Throughout the book, he invites readers to reflect on the power of love, compassion, and unity, and how these values can serve as the foundation for a better future. One of the most striking aspects of hope is Pope Francis' deep commitment to interfaith dialogue. As he recounts his experiences with leaders of other religious traditions, he highlights the common threads that bind humanity together. In his conversations with imams, rabbis, Buddhist monks, and leaders of other faiths, he consistently emphasizes the shared values of love, peace, and mutual respect. For Pope Francis, the aim of interfaith dialogue is not just to coexist peacefully, but to actively work together for the common good. The book details several of these interfaith encounters, where Pope Francis listens intently to the perspectives of others and finds common ground in their teachings. One of the central messages in these dialogues is the recognition of a shared responsibility across all religions to care for one another and protect the planet. Whether it's fostering peace in conflict zones or advocating for social justice, the Pope highlights how people of all faiths are united by their common duty to make the world a better place. Pope Francis uses these stories to remind us that despite our differences, the values we hold dear such as kindness, empathy, and a sense of justice are universal. He speaks of how these values transcend religious boundaries and can inspire collective action. In this way, the book challenges readers to see beyond the labels of faith and ethnicity, urging us to focus on what unites us rather than what divides us. Throughout Hope, Pope Francis doesn't shy away from addressing the urgent issues facing our world today. From poverty and inequality to climate change and the refugee crisis, he presents these challenges not as abstract concepts but as moral imperatives. He stresses that hope is not a passive sentiment, it's an active force that calls us to action. The Pope discusses how we, as individuals and communities, must confront these global issues head-on, with courage and compassion. He emphasizes that the fight against poverty is not just about charity, but about systemic change, ensuring that every person has access to the basic necessities of life, such as food, clean water, education, and health care. Similarly, Pope Francis speaks passionately about inequality, stressing that a just society is one where everyone, regardless of their background, has equal opportunities to thrive. Climate change is another pressing issue Pope Francis addresses in Hope. He writes about the moral responsibility we have to protect the environment for future generations. Drawing from his encyclical Laudato Si, the Pope urges readers to take immediate and meaningful steps to combat environmental degradation. He stresses that the care for creation is intrinsically linked to the care for the poor, as the effects of climate change disproportionately impact the most vulnerable communities. Amidst these global challenges, Pope Francis also shares deeply personal stories that highlight the resilience of the human spirit. One of the most moving stories he recounts is about a community in Buenos Aires that came together to rebuild after a devastating flood. In the aftermath of the disaster, many people had lost their homes and their livelihoods. Yet, rather than succumbing to despair, the community rallied together in an extraordinary display of solidarity. The residents, from all walks of life, worked tirelessly to help each other, rebuilding homes, providing food and shelter, and offering emotional support. Pope Francis speaks of how this collective effort was not just about rebuilding physical structures, but about restoring hope and dignity to those who had been affected. The community's resilience in the face of adversity became a shining example of the transformative power of solidarity. This story encapsulates one of the central themes of hope, that even in the darkest times, humanity's spirit can shine brightly. Pope Francis reflects on how moments of crisis often bring out the best in people, revealing our capacity for love, generosity, and mutual support. He encourages readers to take inspiration from such stories and recognize that, in the face of challenges, we can find hope not only in the big gestures but in the everyday acts of kindness and compassion. In the final chapters of Hope, Pope Francis reaffirms his call for hope to be a catalyst for change. He urges readers to see hope as a dynamic force that requires our engagement, whether through acts of kindness, working for social justice, or advocating for the well-being of the planet. He emphasizes that hope is not just about waiting for a better future but about creating it through our actions today. This section of the book challenges us to take responsibility for the world around us, to embrace the role we each play in shaping the future, and to recognize that even small acts of kindness and justice can have a profound impact. Pope Francis reminds us that hope is a gift, but it is also a responsibility, a call to action that requires us to be the change we wish to see in the world. The heart of hope is ultimately an invitation, a call to embrace the transformative power of hope, compassion, and unity. Pope Francis offers us a vision of a world where love transcends boundaries, where our shared responsibility for one another and the planet leads to collective action, and where hope is not a passive sentiment but a driving force for positive change. Through his words and his example, Pope Francis reminds us that we each have the power to create a better world, one small act of kindness at a time. As we conclude our exploration of hope, Pope Francis leaves us with more than just a story. The book offers a renewed sense of purpose, a call to live with greater compassion, humility, and courage. Through the pages of hope, Pope Francis paints a portrait of a life dedicated to service, love, and faith, reminding us that even in the most challenging circumstances, there is always room for hope. His life, both as a priest and as the Pope, is a testament to the transformative power of faith when it is lived with sincerity and a deep sense of responsibility to others. The overarching theme of hope is clear: hope is not merely an abstract concept or a fleeting emotion, it is an active force that shapes our actions and our interactions with the world. Pope Francis's message is a powerful reminder that the way we live, the choices we make, and the compassion we extend to others all play a role in creating a world filled with light, love, and unity. If there's one thing this book teaches us, it's that hope isn't just an idea, it's a way of life. Whether you are someone who holds religious beliefs or simply a person searching for inspiration in the face of life's struggles, hope is a guide to living with purpose. Pope Francis invites us to see hope not as something that happens to us, but as something we actively cultivate and nurture through our actions. He challenges us to look beyond our personal concerns and consider how we can contribute to the greater good of humanity. This book encourages us to find hope in the smallest of moments, whether through an act of kindness, a gesture of compassion, or a commitment to justice. No matter where you are on your own journey, whether you are grappling with personal challenges or striving to make a positive impact on the world, hope offers invaluable insights that can help you navigate the path ahead. Pope Francis's unwavering belief in the power of hope is infectious, and by reading this book, you too will be reminded of the potential within you to bring light to the world around you. So, if you're seeking a deeper connection to your faith, looking for inspiration to live a more meaningful life, or simply hoping for a story that uplifts and challenges you, Hope by Pope Francis is a must-read. It's a book that will leave you reflecting on the way you approach the world, the way you treat others, and the way you live your own life. Pope Francis's life and words serve as a call to action, urging each of us to be more intentional about how we embody hope in our everyday lives. As he says in the book, hope is a journey, not a destination. It is a path we walk together, as a global community, united in our shared responsibility to care for one another and our planet. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into Hope by Pope Francis. If this story resonated with you, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. How has this book changed the way you think about hope? What lessons have you learned that you can apply to your own life? I would love to hear from you and continue the conversation. And if you're looking for more book explorations like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Bookworms. We've got plenty of insightful and inspiring books lined up, and I'd be thrilled to have you along for the journey. Until next time, remember, hope is the light that guides us through the darkest of times. No matter where you are in your life or what challenges you may be facing, there is always a reason to hope. Keep your heart open, and let that light guide you forward. See you soon.